Okay, so in this video we're looking at using the binomial expansion again to expand and to simplify, this time 3 take away w to the power of 4. Now straight away, because I can see I've got quite a big power here, you're looking at using Pascal's triangle. Otherwise, if you expanded every bracket 4 times, you're going to be there for a long time. Now the power is 4. Using the triangle, the first row you call row 0, row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4. And this is really nice because the row number always corresponds to the power in the question, which is how you know which row links to the question. So we're using these numbers here as the coefficients of every term in the expansion. So I'm going to write these out. So you've got 1 over here, plus 4, plus 6, plus 4, plus 1. Now, remember at the previous videos, we looked at this in terms of a plus b to a power. Now, in this case, a is just equal to r3 over here, and b is equal not to w, but to negative w, and that's really important. Okay, so b is equal to minus w. The sign always belongs to the thing to the right. That's really important. Now, we just work through this, and I always think about it in terms of, well, a is always to the power given straight away, the biggest power, and you reduce that by 1. So in this case, well, a is 3, so it's always going to be 3 to the power of 4, and then b to the power of 0. Now, you could write out minus w, which is b, to the 0, but of course, anything to the power of 0 just gives you 1. So that's just going to go to nothing, really. And also, this 1 doesn't need to be there, because 1 times by anything will just keep it the same. I'm going to leave it there just for the time being. Now, just make sure that the power here, 4 add nothing, gives you the power in the question, which it does, which is good. We now know from the previous videos that you reduce the power of a by 1 and you increase b by 1 every time. So it was 3 to the 4. You now reduce this to 3 to the power of 3, and you increase b, which is minus w. Now it was 0, it now goes to 1. And 3 plus 1 gives you 4. Makes sense. They should always add to give you the power in the question. You then reduce the power of a again, which is 3 by 1, to give you 3 squared, and b, which is minus w, increases the squared. So minus w squared. And again, 2 plus 2 gives you 4, which is really useful. You reduce a again by 1, so a is 3 to the 1, and b increases to minus w cubed. Now a, which is 3, reduces again from 1 to 0, and again, anything to the power of 0 just gives you 1, so you just leave it as nothing. And then we've got, last but not least, the minus w increases to the power of 4. And we now just work through and we simplify each of the terms in the expansion. So the first one, 1 times by 3 to the 4, 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 gives you 81. So you've got 81, first of all, plus. You've then got 4 times by 3 cubed. Well, 3 cubed, 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. 4 times by 27 gives you 108, doesn't it? So you've got plus 100. Oh, be careful here. Be really, really careful. Right, the number is 108. 4 times by 27 gives you 108. And you've got minus w to the power of 1. Now, any number, or in this case, variable to the power of 1, just keeps it as it is, right? Minus w to the 1 just equals to minus w. So there you've got minus, because it's a negative, w over here, minus w. So this minus makes the term negative. Good. We've then got the next part over here. We've got plus 6, 3 squared, minus w squared. Now let's just deal with the minus w squared first of all. What does that mean? This part means minus w times minus w. If you multiply two negatives, you get a positive. That's equal to w squared, which is nice, positive. So you've got 6 times by 3 squared. 3 squared is 9. 6 times by 9 gives you 54. And because the w squared is also positive, it gives you plus 54 w squared. Done. Now, when you have a negative in the question, you're going to see that the terms, they alternate between minus and plus every time. Okay, so it goes minus and plus. The next one will be negative, as you're going to see now. You've got plus 4 times 3 times minus w cubed. Now minus w cubed means this. Let's get rid of this one. It means minus w times by minus w times by minus w. You just saw that if you multiplied minus w by minus w, that was w squared, because two negatives times make a positive. But you're timesing by minus w, again, over here. Now this time you've got a positive times by a negative, which gives you a negative. So minus w, and the laws of indices, w squared times by w gives you w cubed. So it is negative. So you've got 4 times 3, which is 12. So 12 times by minus w cubed is minus 12 w cubed. Done. Last but not least, and we've just said in the question that if you've got a negative there, it will go minus, plus, minus. So it should go plus again, which should make sense. Minus w to the power of 4 means minus w times minus w times minus w times by minus w. Now you've just seen that if you multiply two negatives, you get a positive w squared, and you've got the same thing over here. That will go to w squared, and w squared times by w squared gives you w to the 4. You add the powers if you're timesing with the same base. So you've got plus 1 w to the power of 4. And this is your answer. Okay, this is your answer expanded and fully simplified over here. I think these questions are really nice. It will just take a bit of practice when you first see this, but you should get there in no time. Okay, and of course you've got all of the questions in the textbook that you can also work through. Good stuff, guys. We'll look at one more question on the binomial expansion, and that's probably going to be it for the binomial expansion. Good stuff.